The whole village thought he had only 3 weeks to live. His children rushed home, some with lawyers, some with fake tears, but none stayed. Then, something shocking happened. Watch to the end to see what happened in this intriguing story. Once upon a time, in the quiet town of Okeegwe, there lived a man named Papa Nwachee. He was old, wise, and full of strength. People in the village called him Odogwu, which means the mighty one, because he was a man who never gave up. Papa Nwachee was also very rich. In fact, people used to say he was richer than the whole village. He had 3 big cars, 5 houses, and children who studied in faraway cities. His sons wore suits, and his daughter wore gold earrings and expensive lace gowns. Everyone in Okeegwe respected him. People pointed at his compound and said, "That's Papa Nwachee's house, the man who built a mansion before his first son even married." But even though his house was full of things, it was empty of joy. After his wife died many years ago, Papa Nwachee made a decision. Even though many people begged him to remarry, he said no. He said, "No woman will come and maltreat the children of my dear wife. I will raise them myself." And he kept his word. He woke early every morning to cook for his children. He washed their clothes. He learned how to plait Amora's hair and helped her tie a wrapper. He once sold a piece of land to pay Nambi's school fees when the boy almost got sent home. When Ikenna needed a new laptop for university, Papa made sure he got it on time. He never complained. He sacrificed many of his needs for years, just so they could have what they needed. When Amora got sick, he sat beside her hospital bed for 3 days, holding her hand. He didn't eat. He didn't sleep. He just prayed and stayed. He did all this, not for praise, but because he loved them. They were all he had. But now, the house was quiet. Too quiet. No laughter. No footsteps. Just silence. They used to say, "Papa, we'll visit every weekend." But weeks turned to months, and months turned into years. Now, they only called when they needed something. "Papa, my rent is due." "Papa, I need money for fuel." "Papa, send something to my wife's people." No one asked, "Papa, are you eating?" No one asked, "Papa, how is your health?" No one even said, "Papa, I miss you." One night, Papa Nwachee sat in his parlor. His food was cold. He dropped his spoon and looked around the big house. It used to be full of voices. Now it was full of silence. He stood up slowly and walked to the window. Outside, he could hear children laughing in the next compound. His heart ached. "I gave them everything," he whispered. "Even my youth." He stood there for a long time, and then his eyes became firm. "I will test them," he said quietly. "I will pretend to be dying, and I will find out who truly loves me." And from that moment on, he began to make his plans. The very next morning, Papa Nwachee woke up before the cock crowed. He didn't eat. He didn't even brush his grey beard. He just sat quietly, looking at his late wife's photo on the wall. He touched the frame gently and whispered, "Let me see who really cared about what we built." Then he called his old driver, Baba Obil, and his lawyer house help, Onima, who had been with him for over 10 years. "I want you both to help me," he said, his voice low. "What is it, Papa?" Onima asked, worried. "I want you to tell the town I am very sick," Papa said. "Tell people I have only 3 weeks to live. Say the doctor said there's nothing else they can do. But, tell it like a secret. Whisper it into the wind." The 2 loyal domestic staff looked at each other. Then they nodded. That afternoon, whispers started spreading across Okeegwe like dry fire meeting dry grass. "Have you heard? Papa Nwachee is dying. You. That man who never felt sick. They say he's not even walking again. They are hiding it from the public." By evening, the news had reached the cities. his children heard. Namdi, the eldest, arrived the very next day. He didn't come with food. He didn't come with medicine. He came with a lawyer. They entered Papa's house in a hurry. Namdi forced a worried look on his face. "Papa, I heard you're not well," he said, bending to hug him. "This is Barrister Uche. We just want to go over some things, in case anything happens." Papa sat on the couch and pretended to cough weakly. His eyes didn't miss how Namdi opened a file marked a will. They stayed for 1 hour. Then they left. The next morning, Ekene came. He rushed in with a nylon bag, full of soft drinks and suya. He looked around the house and shook his head sadly. "Papa, I want to help take care of everything. Especially your land at Umadim," he said, pressing his chest like someone mourning. "I don't want outsiders to scatter your legacy." But Papa noticed something. Ikena's eyes kept drifting to the bottom drawer of the bookshelf, the same drawer where Papa kept land papers and keys. Papa simply nodded and coughed again. He stayed for half a day, then left quickly. 2 days later, Amara came. She wore a red beautiful dress that sparkled and perfume that filled the room. She brought fruits. Ones Papa could barely chew. She hugged him gently, kissed his forehead, then sat close. "Papa," she whispered while peeling an orange, "you know I love you, right?" He nodded slowly. She leaned even closer. "Just tell me the pin to your safe. I'll take care of things for you. I'll make sure no one steals from us." Papa looked at her. For the first time, he didn't feel anger. He felt deep pain. This was the girl he once carried on his back when she cried for fufu in the middle of the night. She left before evening. No one stayed the night. No one asked what medicines he needed. No one brought a blanket to cover him from cold. They came, they talked, they calculated, then they left. But something unexpected happened on the 5th evening. Just as the sun was going down and birds were flying back to their trees, there was a soft knock at the door. Papa Nwachee sat up. Onima opened the door. Standing there was a small girl, about 10 years old. Her dress was old, but her eyes were full of light. She stepped forward shyly. "My name is Cheearmaka," she said quietly. "My mommy said I should come and help you. She said when my father died, you helped us. You paid our house rent. You gave us food. She said, you are a good man." Papa stared at her for a long time. His lips trembled. Then, for the first time in many weeks, he smiled. A smile so deep that Onima, who was standing beside him, looked away to hide his tears. Cheearmaka was not his child. She was just a small girl with dusty slippers, wide eyes, and a heart bigger than most adults. Her mother was a widow who sold bitter leaf by the roadside. Many years ago, when her husband died suddenly, Papa Nwachee had given her money to pay for school fees and rent. He never expected anything back. He just saw a woman in pain and helped. Now, that same woman had heard the whisper in the wind that the great Odogwu of Okeegwe was dying. She didn't come herself. But she did something even stronger, she sent her child. Cheearmaka arrived with a small bowl of gari, a bottle of palm oil, and a bag of fresh okra. She didn't come empty-handed. And she didn't come for money. From the very first night, she stayed. She didn't sit and gossip with Onima. She didn't sneak around the house checking which doors were locked. She didn't ask for a key, or a pin, or a promise. She swept the living room quietly, stopping to pick tiny stones with her fingers. She pounded ogbono with her small hands, her headscarf tied to keep sweat away. She washed Papa's wrapper when it was stained with palm oil. At night, she would sit beside his chair and hum a slow lullaby, soft, like a mother rocking a baby to sleep. Papa watched her. He didn't say much. But his eyes said everything. The days passed. His phone stopped ringing. Nnamdi didn't call. Ikenna sent a short message, "Hope you're managing." Amora sent a picture of her new shoes and wrote, "Busy weekend, Papa. We'll visit soon." They all thought he was finished. That his body was shutting down. That there was no need to keep checking. But Cheearmaka, she never left his side. When Papa's legs swelled one morning, she pressed them gently with warm cloth. When he lost appetite, she made thin yam porridge and blew it cool before feeding him. One day, when he groaned in the night, she ran and held his hand, whispering, "I'm here. It's okay." She didn't rush his steps. She simply stayed. And inside Papa's chest, something began to break. But not in pain, in healing. One afternoon, as the sun poured through the window, Papa lay on his reclining chair, eyes half closed. Cheearmaka sat beside him with a small cloth, wiping sweat from his wrinkled forehead. Her touch was light. Like someone taking care of a treasure. Papa opened his eyes and looked at her for a long time. Then he touched her hand gently. "My daughter," he said slowly, "why do you help me like this? I didn't raise you." She looked up, her smile soft and pure. "Because my mommy said, when my father died, you helped us," she said. "She said you're a good man. I just want you to smile again." That night, Papa didn't sleep. Not because of pain. But because his heart was full of tears. Tears not of sadness, but of gratitude. In all the wealth he had. In all the years of being a father. In all the things he gave his children. This small girl, whose feet barely reached the floor, had given him what none of them ever did, real love. Without asking for anything back. That night, he made up his mind. He knew what he had to do. Exactly 21 days after Papa Nwachee told the first whisper of sickness, he rose early that morning. He took a warm bath. He wore a clean white wrapper. Onyema helped him oil his skin with shea butter. Cheearmaka dusted the sitting room and arranged the wooden stools. She even placed his walking stick gently beside him. Papa sat up on his favorite reclining chair, sipping fresh palm wine and chewing roasted yam with palm oil and pepper. He looked peaceful, almost like a king ready to address his village. Then, he told Onyema, "Call them. Tell them I don't have much time left. They should come now." By midday, they all arrived. Nnamdi, with a worried face and his lawyer behind him. Ikenna, wearing a black outfit like someone ready for morning. Amora, with red lipstick and dark glasses. She held a handkerchief but had no tears. They entered the house expecting to see Papa on the floor, gasping for air. But instead, they froze. Papa was alive and strong. Not coughing. Not weak. Not dying. He was drinking palm wine and laughing softly with Cheearmaka, who stood beside him holding a tray with kola nuts. Their mouths fell open. "I thought you were dying," Nnamdi stammered, confused. Papa slowly turned his head, his eyes sharp but calm. "I was," he said quietly. "But not from sickness. I was dying of heartbreak." Then he told them everything. How he tested them. How they failed him, each one. How they came only for what he had, not for who he was. He reminded them how none of them stayed even one night. How they stared at the drawer instead of his swollen feet. How they asked for land, banknotes, and safe pins, but not once asked, "Papa, are you eating?" Silence filled the room. Even the ceiling fans seemed to slow down. Then Papa looked at Cheearmaka. He smiled. "This little girl," he said, "showed me more love in 3 weeks than you have in 30 years. He told them how she washed his wrappers, cooked his food, wiped his forehead, and stayed even when she had nothing to gain. And she never asked for anything, he added. Not land. Not money. Not power. She just gave me her heart." Then he asked Onyema to bring a brown envelope. Inside was a piece of paper, his final will. Papa cleared his throat and began to speak slowly. I will divide the rest of my houses and farmlands among you. But the house I live in, and everything inside the family account, the money I saved with my sweat and love, will go to the one who truly cared. To Cheearmaka. The room shook. What? Amara shouted. This is madness. Namdi cried. We are your blood. Ikenna screamed. They begged. They argued. Amara even dropped to her knees. But Papa didn't change his mind. His face was firm. His heart was steady. His voice was soft, but it cut deep. I gave you everything, he said. But you gave me nothing when it mattered most. That evening, as the sun set over Okeegwe, the story flew through the village like wind through dry grass. People wept. Some nodded in silence. Some clapped with respect. But everyone, old and young, learned something that day: true love doesn't come with noise. It doesn't beg. It doesn't steal. It just shows up when you need it most. Moral of the story: not everyone who shares your blood shares your heart. Sometimes, love comes from the most unexpected place. Did this story touch your heart? Then, please don't scroll away, like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful African stories that speak to your soul. Let's remember what truly matters, before it's too late. See you next time.